Hello again. This is iPulse Live for October 4th, 2024. I'm Lisette Guillen.
And I'm Nicole Sayek. We start off with a report from the Middle East, where all-out war is anticipated. The IDF says 8 Israeli soldiers were killed in combat on Wednesday in southern Lebanon, and Iran has been firing missiles on Israel. Ben Weiderman from CNN reports.
Smoke rises from the ruins after another night of Israeli airstrikes. Atop the rubble, a man first salutes, then embraces a photograph of the assassinated Hezbollah leader.
This is just one of the latest buildings struck by Israel in the southern suburbs of Beirut. For the last 10 days, the southern suburbs, as well as South Lebanon, the Bekaa Valley, have been pummeled by Israeli airstrikes. And now, according to news from Israel, an additional division is being deployed to the northern border in anticipation of what could be a full-scale Israeli invasion of Lebanon.
Wednesday, Hezbollah organized a mob of media for a tour around the southern suburbs to show perhaps they're still in control. I asked spokesman Mohammed Afif how Hezbollah will deal with Israel's repeated blows, a question he didn't like. I won't allow for that expression, he replied. Your Arabic language is not correct. His aides chant loyalty to their assassinated leader. We haven't taken blows. I completely reject that, he says. The resistance has recovered. The leadership is well. The command and control is well. The arsenal of rockets is well. Thousands of the heroic men of the resistance on the fronts are well. Most inhabitants of the southern suburbs have fled elsewhere, yet some, like Mohsen Abbas, insist on staying put. My family left, but I'm staying here, he says. They're bombing. Normal. What else could happen? Wednesday, Hezbollah, fighting on its own rugged turf in South Lebanon, inflicted heavy casualties on Israeli forces that crossed the border. Hours after its ally, Iran, rained down missiles on Israel. A war that started in Gaza has spread to Lebanon. In the last week, Israel has bombed Yemen and Syria. If this isn't a regional war, what is? Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Beirut.
For an update, here's Swanson Gibson Jr. in the newsroom.
In the Middle East, Israel looks to retaliate against Iran after taking on nearly 200 ballistic missiles on Tuesday night. The Iran attack was believed to be a response to the airstrike assassination of Lebanese politician Hassan Nasrallah. Some civilians sustained injuries, but 37-year-old Sameh al-Asali was the lone casualty. It's no coincidence that tensions have been rising recently, considering this Monday would be the first anniversary of Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. In the newsroom, reporting for iPulse Live, I'm Swanson Gibson Jr.
In national news, Hurricane Helene has left a trail of destruction across the U.S. southeast. The death toll has now reached more than 200. President Biden visited North Carolina on Wednesday. He called the story one of historic proportions. John Lawrence reports.
A flash flood from Hurricane Helene engulfed a neighborhood in Sugar Hill, North Carolina.
I'm okay. My car's gone.
Other parts of the Tar Heel state remain in tatters from the tempest.
We know that the devastation brought by Hurricane Helene is beyond belief. Communities were wiped off the map.
In Buncombe County, tens of thousands were without power while crews handed out supplies and searched for missing residents.
We're reaching out and trying to find those individuals who have still trapped in their homes.
Helene's wrath is also still felt in South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Virginia, and Tennessee.
What I'm most impressed by is the way this community has responded.
President Joe Biden says his administration will, quote, jumpstart this recovery process.
This is urgent. People have to know how to get the information they need. So we'll be there until this work is done.
A bipartisan group of senators sent a letter to majority and minority leaders Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell calling for the swift passage of disaster relief legislation, even if it means coming back into session to get it done.
Our government is there. They are working. They're working hard, but their accountability is no greater than our accountability. You know, we need to be helping everybody around us.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
In Lynn News, last Tuesday, Professor Robert Watson held a seminar highlighting the problems professional journalists are facing in our politically divided country. Are the most loudest and extreme voices dominating the coverage? Here's reporter Allison Wallace.
It's currently Tuesday, October 1st. We're here at the Wold Center attending the Dialogue series with your host, Robert Watson. During this dialogue, Watson will interview 3 guest speakers about the media, the campaign, and their thoughts for the elections. I asked Michael Williams how he viewed the electorate in this upcoming election.
I think if you read the surveys, it certainly suggests that Americans are more divided. I think there's some legitimacy to that concern. It's funny, though, I also talk to everyday Americans. I'm one of them. And when you talk to people, a lot of people want to shut out the noise. I think there is also, in today's society, the loudest voices on, let's say, the far left and the loudest voices on the far right tend to dominate in some ways the discussion. So while I do think there's more obvious polarization, I also am hopeful that if you dig deeper, there are a lot of Americans who simply want the noise to stop, want us to figure out a way to, if not unify, at least have civil discussions about our differences, and sometimes are frustrated that only the loudest and most strident voices seem to capture the media high ground. And as people in the media, like you and me, it's incumbent on us to make sure that we're not just listening to the noise, but we're also listening to more thoughtful voices who together like to find a way forward. I'm not sure we're doing a good enough job of that in the media. It's too easy to get the loud voice, the strident voice, the angry voice, and say, well, that's how we all are. So is there division? Absolutely. Do we need to probe even more deeply as reporters, producers, people in news to look at the more nuanced picture there, as it may exist? I think so.
I asked Antonio Fins whether the media has changed in its approach to handling candidates.
A lot of it has to do with the fact that there is way more commentary out there about these issues. There is way more interest in these elections than there used to be. When I first started, you talk to people about an election, they would say, well, no, I'm not going to vote because my vote doesn't count. Then after the 2000 election, when Florida was decided, and this election was decided by 537 votes, you didn't hear that anymore. What I've seen now is that wherever you go, people are talking politics. I mean, everywhere. You go to a kid's birthday party, people are talking politics. You go to the bowling alley, people are talking politics. You go to anywhere, you go to the restaurant, people next door to you. There's just an enormous interest in this. And as a result, the breadth of scope it's a much bigger arena.
I don't know that the equal coverage rule is always going to apply. I have a lot of critiques and criticisms of how national networks have been covering the past few presidential elections because, I think every single time one of the candidates, goes to the dentist or does something small, it's not breaking news. It's not going to change your day. So we've really, I think, got to do a better job at picking out what are the candidates doing that is actually going to make a difference in the campaign, in someone's vote. We've got to think about the journalistic purpose of the story. Is it just to get a headline, or is it to explain one of their policies, or some more context behind a piece of behavior or an incident or analysis? But I think we've done so much of everything is breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. And we need to, I think, take the pedal off a little bit and cover the candidates from that more policy-driven perspective.
A big thank you to all the guest speakers for coming out today for the event. I'm Allison Wallace for iPulse News.
A few weeks ago, Lynn University held its annual involvement fair in the Christine Lynn University Center. Excitement ran throughout as students decided what club caters to their interests and passions. Swanson Gibson Jr. gives us a recap of what transpired.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Lynn University for the 2024-25 academic school year. We're here in Elaine's right now for the involvement fair as numerous students look to join a club and community. Here's a look at what we saw earlier today. From cinema to fashion, dozens of students went table to table, finding what community fits them best. iPulse News spoke with several representatives discussing the structure and operations of each club. President Bianca Kane gave insight about the film club.
We're movie nights. This is a good club for students, whether they're an incoming freshman or they've been here since junior year. It's a fun way for students to get involved on campus in a stress-free way. I mean, you just bring food, we have movies playing, and it's really low-key. So.
United Airlines First Officer Justin Solomon details the objective of the Aviation Club.
This is our second year going into it, and it's really beneficial to the aviation students. We come in, we talk about what it's like to be a pilot. They're really thirsty for that information, and then they can apply it when they get hired at an airline, and it kind of makes it a little bit easier for them to start.
Peter Van Buren gives us a look into fashion.
We do a lot of fashion oriented events, so we're going to New York Fashion Week next week, and we host meetings, and we rate runway looks and red carpet looks and stuff like that. And we help people learn how to find their confidence through styling and looking at how clothes work on different body types and stuff like that.
Another successful involvement fair, as many students align with their passion.
I'm Swanson Gibson Jr. for iPulse News.
The Farmer's Table is a hidden gem in Boca, not more than 5 minutes from Lynn University. Reporter Sofia Etienne reports the restaurant features fresh food from local farms straight to the customers' tables. The people who prepare the food are totally committed to the healthy eating lifestyle.
Hi, welcome to Farmer's Table. Do you have any reservation in tonight?
Farmer's Table, a restaurant near Lynn University that offers a variety of healthy food options. I spoke with the 3 head chefs to learn more about this unique and culinary experience.
Mainly, I create the menus, organize everything that revolves around the menus, and also quite a bit involved in the beverage program, and essentially running the restaurants. Yeah, I know quite a bit about the history. It originally was created by Mitchell Robbins and his partner, and it was focused on the healthier lifestyle, putting healthier food into your body, avoiding all the things that are nowadays very common, such as pesticides and food coloring and just chemical products that shouldn't really be in food. So that was the initial intent, to bring a healthier lifestyle when it comes to food to the people of Boca Raton.
Farmer's Table. Well, a lot of people, have this misconception that we're this vegan or vegetarian restaurant, and we aren't. We're actually just a very clean, eating and a really more natural style of cooking and natural style of food in its original form. We use a lot of organics, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, sustainable different products. We try to source locally when we can, specific times of the year, whether it's Palm Beach County or, South Florida in general. And then when we can't do that, because obviously during our summers, which are quite hot, we do have to go to other states, but we do deal with, very specific quality of food, and we don't waver from that. We'd rather not, have those items in that day if that's the case. And we deal with the Dirty Dozen from the EWG, which is essentially, if it's on that list, it's a high pesticide item, like strawberries or spinach, in which case we only serve organic. And then if we don't have that available, we just don't serve it that day. Well, there's a couple things. We just took over the pastry department, and I used to own a bakery, and I was a pastry chef in a previous lifetime about 30 years ago. So I do have a little bit of a passion to, breads and some of our pastries. So we did a whole new bread program here, and we just started that about within the last year. So that's kind of near and dear to the heart.
I actually got to see behind the veil over here. So that's actually why I chose it, because what they say they're doing, I guess we are doing, we actually are doing it. So I can put, I can believe in it, because I can't cook like that anymore. I can't cook for something I don't believe in anymore. To me, this restaurant is kind of the beginning of where we're hopefully headed as a nation. For me, it's hopefully for the consumers and the customers, a starting point of having a conversation around the table, sharing food, and talking about why do we make the decision to spend our money eating at this restaurant, and why are we bringing our children here, and why are we going here to be healthy, and why is it food forward? Like, why is that the main focus? And for me, that's really what this place means for me, is the starting of the conversation. You know, I highly suggest anyone watching this video and hearing me speak, and I used to tell all my former students this, is like, go ahead and like really do some research and dig in on that, on how cows are actually not harmful to the planet and how they actually are beneficial to our environment and to human health. And you'd be surprised. And if you really want to know, come find me.
Come on down and enjoy your 10% Lynn student discount. I am Sophia Etienne for iPulse News.
In sports, podcast reporter Luke Panzo takes a look at those high-stakes salary negotiations going on between Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. It's our weekly iPulse podcast.
Welcome to the iPulse podcast, where you get your latest fix of the news. I'm your host, Luke Panzo, and as the NBA season draws closer to its start, so does the rising tension between star players and teams about their contracts. One star player who is seemingly having trouble re-signing with his team is Jimmy Butler. The two-time All-NBA and three-time All-Defensive Team player has begun butting heads with team president of the Miami Heat, Pat Riley. Jimmy Butler was seeking a 2-year, $113 million maximum contract extension. However, Pat Riley isn't sold on giving Butler this extension, as his many injuries and the fact that he missed the playoffs last season, which led to them losing 4-1 against the Celtics in the first round. In addition, the Heat stars Bam Adebayo and then the numerous youth talents they have makes Pat Riley feel like the time to win a championship is ticking. Many trade rumors have begun to brew, including a possible 4-way trade that could send Butler away in return for Cavaliers star Donovan Mitchell. When asked about the rumors, Pat Riley denied the claims. However, in professional sports, no player is ever safe from a trade. Jimmy Butler has stated, quote, "I feel at home, man. I really care about the city. I really care about the people in this city. Miami has embraced me." Jimmy Butler's admiration for the Miami Heat and the city is evident, but only time will tell whether his future will continue in the Sunshine State.
Good night. Every now and then, I get to cover a story that really touches my heart. In Alaska, a loving parent celebrated her baby's first birthday, but this was not a usual birthday party, as firefighters were there to celebrate. But why?
She wakes up every morning with a big giant smile on her face, ready to play.
Meet Cameron Marilyn. She is now a 1-year-old.
Say cheese.
She celebrated with a big party. And that included a surprise visit from some of Anchorage's finest. But this wasn't so much a birthday party as it was a reunion.
So I did recognize them after the party. I'm like, that's the one. That's the one that took you out of my arms and made sure that you were good. And the way she went to him and hugged him, it's almost like she kind of like, this is my hero too.
Exactly 1 year prior to September 1st, 2023, a pregnant Charlize Walker was at work and in tremendous pain. She would eventually make her way to Providence Hospital expecting to deliver her baby.
The nurses were watching me. I really wasn't making progression, but I was still having contractions. So finally she asked, well, do you have somebody to look after if you go home? I said, well, he's on his way.
The on-call doctor made the call to send them home. Walker says she asked her partner and daughter to leave her alone because she was in so much pain. Her daughter went into a room with headphones. Her partner went to visit a friend.
Well, the contractions were just getting more and more and more intense until finally I just felt I can't even describe it. It just was a pain that was everywhere. It was just everywhere from my back to my bottom. So I get up and I'm thinking I have to use the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom and I just feel this burst.
With her daughter not able to hear her and her partner gone, Walker called 911.
Like maybe 2 pushes, she came right onto my hands. And she's like, well, is she breathing? And I'm like, I caught her as she's coming out. She's like, is she breathing? And I'm like, she burbled a little bit. So she's telling me to pat her feet. So I'm just patting her feet saying, please, little baby, just breathe.
Walker frantically applied infancy CPR.
Right when I didn't have the strength to keep trying to keep her alive, that's when like everybody came to my rescue at the same moment, like just when I couldn't do it.
The firefighter saved little Cameron.
Perfect.
Born at roughly 5 pounds, mom and baby were taken to the hospital where Cameron needed to spend a week in the NICU.
I realized that in that moment, even though it was the scariest thing, God showed me it was sort of the bravest thing I ever did. You know, I've never felt braver. I've never felt more just doing what you were naturally born to do.
She said the hospital apologized profusely for sending her home originally. The firefighters made her feel safe and cared for.
As I'm coming down from everything and my body's like shaking from all the just the pain of what I've been through, they're still trying to reassure me and explain to me that she's okay, she's breathing now, they've got her on the machines. You know, I mean, they were so quick and so caring.
Walker was able to celebrate Cameron's birth with the men she dubs heroes for giving her the opportunity to be a hero to her little girl.
Where are my eyes? Yay, there's my eyes, not my glasses. And the way she looks at me is like, Mom, you're the hero. So every day, I want to keep that look in her eyes.
I'm Lisette Guillen for iPulse.
A British national treasure died on September 27th. Maggie Smith made her professional debut on Broadway in the 1950s. In the decades that followed, she worked steadily in movies and television and frequently returned to the theater. Eleanor Bruce reports.
Dame Maggie Smith was best known for the Harry Potter movies and Downton Abbey.
I'm in dire need of assistance. I'm a sick woman, dying possibly. I'm just looking for a last resting place, somewhere to lay my head. Do you know of anyone?
She died on September 27th at age 89 and is being remembered as a true legend. Tributes have been paid by the King of England, their Prime Minister, as well as multiple co-stars from her long career. King Charles describes her as a national treasure, and Harry Potter star Daniel Radcliffe remembers her fierce intellect and gloriously sharp tongue. It has been said that Smith never took a role lightly and would often pace around set during rehearsals, going over lines, whilst the rest of the cast was on break.
Thank you, Evening Standard. I'd like to say straight off, there wasn't a blade of prosthetics.
Her acting debut began in 1952, and the late actress was still working 6 decades later.
Well, at least our collection's insured for £20,000. Blimey! Oh, yeah, can't we have a lovely little bonfire and collect?
What should we call each other? Well, we could always start with Mrs. Crawley and Lady Grantham.
Smith passed away peacefully in hospital with the company of friends and family. She leaves 2 sons and 5 loving grandchildren behind who are devastated by the loss. The family want to thank the kind and caring staff at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. I'm Eleanor Bruce for iPulse.
And that's our broadcast for October 4th, 2024. I'm Nicole Sayek.
And I'm Lisette Guillen. We'll be back next week with another edition of iPulse Live. You can find us 24 hours a day on iPulseNews.com and on the iPulse site on Apple News.